Shalom, Yashala, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh. I do so in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Yasharallah. Call Holoyim Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harakah Kodash, for blessing our elders with the spirit of truth so that we may know. Shout out to the Akim and the Akwa that's keeping the faith and the work. Shall keep at it. It's your brother Abai coming at you with more precepts. It's the book of Revelation chapter 20 and verse 1. It says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand." And the bottomless pit is speaking about Europe. Right? It says, "And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." Right? Not the Renaissance, a lot, the Dark Ages. You look up the history of royalty during the Dark Ages, and you'll find that so-called blacks, which is really Yasharallah ruled Europe for approximately 1,000 years. Right? It says, Revelation 20:2, "And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season." Right? So after we ruled for the Dark Ages, the Most High basically set the devil in the driver's seat. Job 9:24, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked." Right? Verse 7, it says, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea." So all of this is ultimately leading up to the last world war, the last war on earth. Right? But it all stems, really it goes back to Jacob and Esau, Cain and Abel, the battle between good and evil, right and wrong, righteousness and wickedness, right? But at the end of the day, what we're seeing, like what you see on this screen right now, that's supposed to be Yahweh Shai, or who the world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ, right? All of that is leading up to that final judgment, right? So this is an article speaking about deceiving the nations, right? Article in RT News, and it says hyper realistic. It says Jesus put on display, right? You see the individuals that's around it, and they're basing his facial features, and his body off of a piece of cloth that they say is or was the actual cloth that Yahweh Shai was buried in. The one that he left behind and rose, That's what they're saying. They put it in the movies, but I haven't read anything about a cloth in the scriptures that or that Yahweh Shai left behind. I just read that he rose, right? But it says sculptors based their depiction of Hamashiach's wounded body on data from the Shroud of Turin, which is that piece of cloth that you see behind them that's stretched in that display, right? It says an ultra lifelike model of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach has gone on display at Salamanca Cathedral in Spain, made from silicone, latex, and human hair. And based on data from the Shroud of Turin, the sculpture depicts Hamashiach's horrific wounds. All right, the exhibit, dubbed "The Mystery Man," opened last week after 15 years of research by a group of artists led by curator Alvaro Blanco, the Catholic News Agency reported. Right, Blanco's team based Hamashiach's form on the study of the Shroud of Turin, a linen cloth discovered in the Middle Ages that some Catholics say is the burial shroud of Yahushua himself, and others argue is an elaborate forgery. I would, tend to fall into that category because, yeah, like I said, I ain't reading nothing about it. But anyway, let's see. As you can see, they went into great detail to make sure that the world stay believing that Yahushua is a so-called white man. Right? They gonna hold that lie until it's debunked by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua himself. Right? Let me see. Let me see. It says, look at this. Unlike some traditional depictions of Yahushua, the model's genitals are not omitted for the sake of modesty. Right? So, of course, Esau got to put all parts of it. You know what I mean? Straight devilish, man. All right, so, anywho, this is an article in the Britannica website entitled "The Long History of How Yahushua Came to Resemble a White European." Right? So, which lets you know, these devils know that the Messiah is not a so-called white man. They know this. Right? It matters. Matter of fact, let me see. We go to the book of John chapter 7 and verse 38. It says, "He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, right, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water." As the scripture has said. Now, when we read this article, you're going to see it says, well, no one knows exactly how he looks. Right? They always use that as an argument. No one knows how he really looks. It doesn't describe him in the Bible. Use a damn lie. It does. Right? More than once. Right? But it says in this article, "The Long History of How Yahushua Came to Resemble a White European." It says this article is republished from the conversation under a Creative Commons license. Read the original article, blah, blah, blah. It says the portrayal of Yahushua as a white European man has come under renewed scrutiny during this period of introspection over the legacy of racism in society. So there's a reason why Yahushua is now seen as a so-called white man, and his name is not Yahushua in this society, it's Jesus. There's a reason why. There's a reason why God, so-called God, is a so-called white man in this society. It's a reason why the disciples and the apostles are so-called white men in this society. It's a reason why all of the people in the Bible are so-called white men. In fact, they're anything but black, according to this society. Right? It says, as protesters called for the removal of Confederate statues in the U.S., activist Shaun King went further, suggesting that murals and artwork depicting white Jesus should come down, or depicting white Yahushua should come down. His concerns about the depiction of Hamashiach and how it is used to uphold the notions of white supremacy are not isolated. Prominent scholars and the Archbishop of Canterbury have called to reconsider Yahushua's portrayal as a white man, because psychologically that does something to a person. If you see the creator of all things as a so-called white man, and you see his only begotten son as a so-called white man, and you see his chosen people as so-called white men, that's gonna make you feel inferior, right? On a psychological level. You may not outright know it, but it does. Right? It makes you revere a person over you. Whereas if you see the truth of these individuals, if you see the truth of the most high creator of all things, Yahweh, and you see the truth of his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai, and you see the truth of his people, Yasharallah, it's a whole new story, man. It's a whole new ball game. That's the whole thing with the Great Awakening of today. That's why the people of the world can't understand why we are how we are. Those of us that are operating in the spirit of truth to the best of our ability, they can't understand it. It's because we really see ourselves now. Right? And we refuse to go back to that old mindset of basically a good slave. Whether you call yourself the realest nigga or actually you call yourself a good person, at the end of the day, you just a damn slave. Mentally, you gone. You don't own anything. You don't even own yourself. Mentally. Right? You already don't own nothing on this earth. But mentally, your mind belongs to your oppressor. Right? But it says, but the all-time most reproduced image of Yahweh Shai. Let me see. I think I skipped a piece. Right. It says, as a European Renaissance art historian, I studied the evolving image of Yahweh Shai Hamashiach from AD 1350 to 1600. That's the Renaissance time. That's when Yahweh Shai became a so-called white man. Renaissance means renewing. Right? And if you look up the history of the Renaissance in itself, dealing with Rome and the Holy Roman Empire, right? There was during the time where things started to change as far as the church goes, right? Pope Alexander VI, he came into power in 1492. What else happened in 1492? Right? From 1492, Christopher Columbus. That's when slavery, like the transatlantic slave trade, righteously started in 1492. But it didn't start with us, so-called black people. It started with, our brethren in the Northern Kingdom. Right? They came over here because our people were already over here. And you can read that history in 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. Our people were already over here. Right? Christopher Columbus came to this place, raped, robbed, and murdered, almost eradicated all of our people. And the ones that were left, right, they either served slavery here or they got taken back to Spain. That's where the term Hispanic comes from. His Spaniard. Meaning slave. Right? But I digress. It says, I studied the evolving image of Yahweh Shai Mashiach. Or it says Jesus. I'm going to read it as is. It says, I studied the evolving image of Jesus Christ from AD 1350 to 1600. Some of the best known depictions of Christ, from Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper to Michelangelo's Last Judgment in the Sistine Chapel, were produced during this period. Right? But the all-time most reproduced image of Jesus comes from another period. It is Warner Solomon's light-eyed, light-haired head of Christ from 1940. So that head where it shows him looking up into a light, and the dude got like real light brown, brown eyes, blue eyes, something like that. All right, let me see. Color his eyes are. I think it's blue, right, with brown hair, and he's just looking like he praying up to the Father, right? That came in 1940 by a so-called white man that was making a buck off an image, right? And we're gonna read it. It says, Solomon, a former commercial artist who created art for advertising campaigns, successfully marketed this picture worldwide. Right, it says, through Solomon's partnerships with 2 Christian publishing companies, one Protestant and one Catholic. Notice how this Catholic theme keep popping up. when it comes to Jesus being depicted as white man, right? It says the head of Christ came to be included on everything from prayer cards to stained glass, fox oil paintings, calendars, hymnals, and nightlights. Salmon's painting culminates a long tradition of white Europeans creating and disseminating pictures of Christ made in their own image. Right? The importance of Pope Alexander VI and him coming in power in 1492 is his son. His son is Caesar Borgia. Right? Caesar Borgia was a friend of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, as we just read, was one of the most famous painters of the Renaissance, along with Michelangelo. That's where you get your Caucasian Jesus from. That's where it comes from. Right? And all of it is political, right? Pope Alexander the Sixth came in power when? 1492. Right? And notice that all of the racial tensions in society that's wrapped around this image, it's all for a purpose, man. All right? It says the historical Jesus likely had the brown eyes and skin of other first century Jews from Galilee region in biblical Israel. But here we go with the nonsense, right? It says, but no one knows exactly what Jesus looked like. There are no known images of Jesus from his lifetime, and while the Old Testament kings Saul and David are explicitly called tall and handsome in the Bible, there is little indication of Jesus' appearance in the Old or New Testament. Okay. Let's see. Of course, we're going to go to Revelation. Yeah, automatic. All right, so Revelation chapter 1 and verse 13, it says, in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, so speaking about Yahushua, clothed with a garment down to the foot and girded about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, so white woolly hair, right? It says, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, right? Drunk wine. It says, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. All right. Feet like brass. Brass in itself is a derivative of burn. But it says, as if they burned in a furnace. That means he was extra dark. All right. Now, go to the book of Daniel. Let me see. Salak, 1 second. Salak, 1 second. All right, Salak. So there's the book of Daniel, chapter 10 and verse 5. It says, then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl. So the color beryl is green. I mean, he had on a green garment, and he had a girdle wrapped around his core, right? And the girdle was gold. It says his face is the appearance of lightning, meaning full of wisdom, man. Scripture says wisdom and makes your face shine, right? It says, and his eyes as lamps of fire, just like it's spoken of in Revelation chapter 1, right? It says, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass. Right? Just like it said in Revelation 1. And the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. Just like we read in Revelation 1. Right? Yahushua was a dark, so-called black man. His forefather Solomon was a so-called black man. Right? His four cousin, right? Masha, Moses, so-called black men. Right? Samson, so-called black man. It's color all of them through the scriptures. They just don't want to read it because of what we just read at the beginning of this whole thing, or at the beginning of this particular article, rather. The portrayal of Yahweh, the portrayal of Jesus as a white European man has come under renewed scrutiny during this period of introspection over the legacy of racism in society. Right? That's why when it comes to, the people of the book, well, color don't matter because it really doesn't express any color in the scriptures. It was a damn lie. Right? There are no known images of Jesus from his lifetime, and while the Old Testament King Saul and David are explicitly called tall and handsome in the Bible, there is little indication of Jesus' appearance in the Old or New Testament. Use a lie. Right? So, this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, and verse 12. It says, "For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life." They knew what they were doing when they created all this, man. They knew that. Read the book of Judah, chapter 5, verse 20. It lets you know your oppressors, your enemies, know your weak spot. Your weak spot is to keep you in sin. Right? If it ain't with the food, it's with what you call God. If it ain't with what you call God, it's with what you call yourself. Right? Because you are sons of the Most High. You ain't supposed to put on no other title but that. All of these different bywords that your oppressor created for you, that's to keep you in a certain mindset. That's to keep you in a certain lifestyle. Right? But it says, "For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by the vain glory of men they entered into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end." These idols, man. And the Most High is getting ready to bam them, slap up. They got one huge statue of Caesar Borgia. And let me see where that thing at. Is it Argentina? Statue. Yeah, it's in Argentina. All right, matter of fact, hold on. Let's go there right quick. See this, man? Oh, that's Brazil. Salute. Man. Huge statue. Huge idol in Brazil, man. Right? Look at that, man. That's a damn shame. Right? You'll be surprised how many folk will damn near fight you if you tell them that that's not real. That's not how he really looked. They made that up for a system of control. You'd be surprised how many people would go to war with you over that. And you can present all the evidence you want. At the end of the day, once you get to the point to where they can't fight it no more, you know what they're going to say? Well, it don't matter what color he was. What you mean? You damn near got to fight with me about that. How it don't matter? Man, stop. All right. So at the end of the day, man, the Most High is getting ready to destroy this place and all idols associated with it. And like we read, or like we read quite often in Revelation 18, verse 4, hey, let's not be partakers of her plagues. The Most High got certain things set aside specifically for this place. And if you don't see yourself as his people, then you're going to take on them plagues of this place, seeing as though you don't want to separate yourself from this place. Because they not going to tell the truth. It's going to take the act of the Most High, right, for the truth to be revealed. They going to drag this thing out until, man, that's that love that they got for you, so-called black man, so-called Hispanic man, so-called Native American man, and all our brethren around the world, all the so-called Negro descent. That's that love they got for you, to make sure that you stay a slave and stay mentally gone, which ain't love at all, man. That's pure D hatred, man. Come on. But at the end of the day, hey, call Lord Yahweh for blessing us with the spirit of truth to be able to see past the nonsense. So I ended with that. Hey, Yahweh these precepts in this video were edifying. Call Haloyim Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem Harakako Dash Shalom Yashala.